basically Battlestar Galactica-ing their race of Asgardians to Earth. Hey Marvel fans, welcome to my channel. I'm Trey Guillotine, and today I'm going to be talking about my own speculations of what's going to happen in Avengers Infinity War. As big of a movie as this is, literally a film that is 10 years in the making, everything that has happened in the MCU, or at least on the MCU film side, has been leading to this film. Avengers Infinity War, finally Thanos is coming to Earth, he's collecting the Infinity Stones, Avengers are going to die. Those are literally the only things we know about this movie. Okay, there's a few other things we know. We know that there's at least two fronts to this Infinity War. One that at least starts in New York and then another in Wakanda. We know that Avengers are going to die. We know little bits and pieces that are just kind of vague descriptions of what's going to be going on, but we don't know the true scope of this movie, and that scope is massive compared to all the other movies before it. This movie is going to be huge, both for just at a production standpoint of bringing in so many different franchise characters, just like Avengers was a huge gamble when they were just originally just bringing 4 franchise characters from the MCU into one movie. Now they're bringing, over a dozen. It's a big deal, but the Russo brothers and Marvel Studios have been really good about keeping a lot of the significant details of this film under wraps. It's been kind of almost like a fear campaign of that we should be afraid of finding out more things about this movie, because as Marvel fans, we're going to be heartbroken. That's one of the things they've described like the first few minutes of this film as, is heartbreaking. So we don't know a lot of concrete details for this movie, but it is coming out in, technically 4 days, because now movies always do like a soft opening the Thursday night before, which is when I'm going to go see it. I'm going to go see it Thursday night, but then the official big opening is that Friday night. So just from reading all of the news for this movie and looking at the trailers and the posters and everything going on with this movie, I do have a few speculations. Some I'm pretty confident about, others not so much, but I'm going to share them, starting with Thanos. Thanos is already described as having the most screen time in this film, and that it's actually more of a Thanos movie, that it's almost told from the perspective of the villain. How that's going to work with Avengers Infinity War, I don't know how that'll change, as you know, since Thanos is more or less kind of being described as the main character of this movie, that this is more of a Thanos movie. I don't know how that's going to work, but as much of a part of this movie, as big of a part as Thanos is in this film, I don't think Thanos is actually going to be the big bad. He's definitely the big bad. Like, he is the head honcho leading his forces in the Infinity War. He is the one that is trying to gather the Infinity Stones. But in terms of like the big boss battle, I don't think it's going to necessarily be Thanos. Thanos is definitely going to play a part, and he's going to play a large part, but I think that the actual true big bad villains of this particular film, of Avengers Infinity War, is going to be the children of Thanos, or Thanos's Black Order, which are it's kind of the same group that Nebula and Gamora were a part of before they kind of split off from Thanos. It's basically the rest of his children, who we've only seen glimpses of. We've seen a picture of them. We've seen like bits and pieces of them in the trailers. But aside from comic readers who know them a little bit more because they're in the comics, we don't know a lot about them, aside from they are basically his generals. They are the generals that are on the ground leading Thanos' army while Thanos does Thanos things. But I think that Infinity War is going to specifically focus on fighting the Black Order and defeating them. And while the Avengers are I'm sure the Avengers are going to take out some or all of the Black Order in this film, I think because they're going to be focused on the Black Order, it's going to allow Thanos to ultimately achieve his goal, or at least achieve part of his goal. Like, I'm fairly certain, I can say with some confidence, that I think Thanos is going to win. I think Thanos, by the end of Avengers Infinity War, in some way, Thanos is going to achieve all or at least part of his goals. And there's actually a lot of fan speculation that actually thinks it would be a really good idea That because in the trailers, Gamora describes Thanos as trying to wipe out half of the life in the universe, and that if he gathers the Infinity Stones, he can do that with the snap of his fingers. A lot of fans are speculating that the last scene, the last shot of Avengers Infinity War will be of Thanos with all 6 Infinity Stones in the Infinity Gauntlet, snapping his fingers, cut to black. And I think that would be an amazing ending, that we don't actually see what it is that he actually achieves, like what life is going to look like after he snaps his fingers and achieves all or part of his goal. And that's something that will actually be touched on in Avengers 4, that Avengers 4 will be more of like, let's just, for the sake of discussion, let's assume that Thanos achieves his mission. Like I think is going to happen by the end of Avengers Infinity War, that he's going to achieve his goal, he's going to wipe out half the life in the universe, and that Avengers 4 will essentially be the aftermath of that, of living in a galaxy, in a universe, on an Earth, where half of the life has been just not even eradicated, has just disappeared. He didn't like kill them all off, he just made them go away. He made half of life in the universe just non-existent, and that the Avengers, whatever Avengers are left or are leading the fight in Avengers 4, it'll be like a post-apocalyptic survival resistance, maybe even a Marvel Zombies thing. Probably not, but that would be pretty cool. But just like this resistance, this kind of ragtag post-apocalyptic resistance force against Thanos, to not erase what he's done, not to just reset time and make sure it didn't happen, but to fix and put the universe and the galaxy and the Earth on a more fruititious path to survive what has happened in Avengers Infinity War. That's my speculation on Thanos, and that Thanos will actually be defeated or killed or exiled somehow in Avengers 4. Now, the next big things we know about this movie is that a lot of Avengers are going to die. Well, they never said a lot, but they did say that members of the Avengers that we know will have a permanent death, or at least we will say goodbye to them. A lot of people have speculations on the original Avengers that started in Phase 1. That when we know that a lot of their contracts are basically up after Avengers 4, so we're kind of a little more confident that we're going to be saying goodbye to these specific characters, but we don't know how, if they're going to die or if they're just going to go away. So before I get to my thoughts on the original Avengers and what's going to happen to them, I do want to talk about a few minor characters that I actually haven't heard a lot about. Well, aside from this, so I do think Vision is going to be one of the Avengers to die. I mean, Paul Bettany has been playing Jarvis/Vision literally as long as Tony Stark, as Robert Downey Jr. has been playing Tony Stark. He has been there from the beginning, and the fact that the Vision is basically empowered by the Mind Stone, I think that once Thanos gets the Mind Stone, it's going to kill the Vision. And as much as I don't want to say goodbye to any characters, because I actually have a strong belief that killing off characters in stories is a bad idea, because you basically lose any potential story elements from those characters, but we know what's going to happen, so let's just accept it. I think Vision's going to die, and because of that, I think that's going to be a really big deal for Wanda, for Scarlet Witch, and that it could potentially lead to a kind of House of M adaptation in the future. House of M is when Scarlet Witch kind of just loses her mind with just the way that her life has turned out, and she's so powerful that she literally reshapes reality in her image. She kind of like reshapes reality as she wants it. I don't remember if it was on purpose or she just kind of like was in grief and accidentally did it. I don't remember the specifics of it, but she reshaped life as a purpose. And I think this kind of story where she like just in her grief reshapes the world would be an excellent future story, either where it's an Avengers movie and Scarlet Witch is the quote-unquote antagonist, or even if it's a Doctor Strange film, because I would really think it's interesting to see Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch, who are more or less the magic users of the Avengers, kind of meet and learn from each other, and I think that would be a good story element, especially for like a future Doctor Strange film where Doctor Strange is kind of the hero of that film and Scarlet Witch is the antagonist, and he's trying to put right what Scarlet Witch did. And I think that would be I think Vision's death would be a good jumping off point for an adaptation of that later on. The other characters that I think are going to probably die in this movie are actually Drax and Nebula. I haven't heard a lot about anyone speculating on any of the Guardians' deaths. Like, everyone's been so focused on Captain America and Iron Man and Thor that I haven't heard a lot of speculation on members of the Guardians of the Galaxy dying, but I think that there's a really good chance that these two specific characters will. Revenge against Thanos are such core principles to Drax and Nebula that I do feel that now, in this war that is specifically against Thanos, that they will ultimately die fighting Thanos. They're both incredibly skilled warriors. They're incredibly strong. So I think the fact that if they go up against Thanos and die, even if it's early in the film, it would be an excellent kind of warning for the rest of the Avengers. Like, wow, this guy's not messing around. He was able to defeat Drax and Nebula. This guy's not messing around. He's serious, and we're in trouble. He was able to take out two of the strongest fighters in the Guardians of the Galaxy, or in the cosmic MCU. He's not messing around. Again, I don't want to lose these characters, but I think that these two are strong possibilities for dying in Avengers Infinity War. Now let's get into the kind of the bigger theories, or at least my bigger theories, on the original four, or I guess original 6 Avengers. I don't think Black Widow's going to die. I don't think Hawkeye's going to die. Thor is where I don't think he's going to die, but I do think we're going to say goodbye to him. And actually, I'm talking about specifically Thor and Loki. When we last saw Thor and Loki, they were on their Asgardian ship, leading all of the Asgardians through space to Earth, basically Battlestar Galactica, Battlestar Galactica-ing their race of Asgardians to Earth. And that we see Thanos' ship, which I actually got the pop for it right there, and just from the pop, I see that the ship is called Sanctuary 2. So we see Sanctuary 2 basically run up on the Asgardian ship, and a lot of speculation is that this is where we see in the trailers, where we see like Thanos is like crushing Thor's head, and then we see Loki offer him the Tesseract. A lot of fans think that Loki is actually offering the Tesseract to save Thor's life, and I think that's a really strong speculation. That's a very strong possibility, but I don't think Loki is going to survive that encounter. At the in Avengers, when Loki had the Tesseract and was leading Thanos' forces against Earth, he was warned that if he screws up, he's done. He will be killed. Thanos does not accept defeat. Thanos does not accept failure from his generals, and Loki was essentially one of his generals in that specific fight, and Loki screwed up. Loki lost, and Thanos wasn't able to get to him because at first he was locked up in Asgard, then he was in hiding disguised as Odin himself, so no one knew. So Thanos wasn't able to get to Loki. Now he is, and I don't think Thanos is going to forgive Loki's actions from Avengers. I don't think he's going to forgive that failure. So I think he'll accept the Tesseract, let Thor live at least for a moment, and then kill off Loki. We do know, just from what we've heard of them, and we've seen pictures of Loki standing amongst Thanos' Black Order, and that he's going to be an ally of Thanos, but I don't think that alliance is going to last more than 60 seconds. I think once he has the Tesseract and he has the Space Stone, he's going to kill Loki, and that Thor is going to somehow escape. I don't think Thor is going to die later on, though. I have a feeling that Thor, in the trailers, it looks like Thor's kind of off on his own little solo mission, doing something. We don't know what he's doing, but we've yet to see him with any of the other Avengers. We just see him with some of the Guardians of the Galaxy. So whatever it is he's doing, I think he's not going to die. And I have a feeling that by the end of this story, either by the end of Avengers Infinity War and Avengers 4, Thor is going to remain with the Asgardians, leading them to a new place, a new planet, a new place where they can thrive, and basically lead the Asgardians to happily ever after. And another original Avenger that I think this is going to have to do with is Hulk. Hulk is with Thor at the end of Thor Ragnarok. Hulk and Thor are leading the Asgardians to Earth, and I think that Hulk and Bruce Banner are actually going to kind of finish the kind of Planet Hulk storyline, where he goes off with the character that Valkyrie took the place of. He and Valkyrie basically go off and lead a planet. I don't think he's going to be leading a planet, but I do think that Hulk is going to go with the Asgardians, and that Hulk and Bruce Banner are going to have some kind of connection or romantic connection with Valkyrie in whatever new homeworld the Asgardians are going to have, and that's going to be saying goodbye to Thor and Hulk. Though we may see Hulk again. We do know that they have a giant 3-movie arc storyline for Hulk that started with Ragnarok, is going to continue Avengers Infinity War, and then I suppose end in Avengers 4. So what that's going to be, we don't know. And I have a feeling that's going to be some kind of conclusion where he and Valkyrie are going to go off with the Asgardians and just live happily ever after for now. The two big deaths that everyone is worried about is, of course, Captain America and Iron Man, and I think there's good reason to worry about losing these two characters. We know that Chris Evans' contract ends after Avengers 4 and that he is not going to be renewing it, at least for now. He is putting down the shield. He is stepping away from the Avengers as Captain America, so I do think there's a good chance that we're going to see Captain America die fighting Thanos in Avengers Infinity War, but we also know that he is in Avengers 4. We've seen kind of like behind the scenes pictures of filming of some of what we thought was Avengers Infinity War, where we actually see Chris Evans kind of in the ruins of New York after the Battle of New York, where he's wearing the uniform that he had in the first Avengers film. And I have a feeling this is going to be kind of like a time manipulation, that either the Avengers are going to go back in time to do something that had to do with the Battle of New York, or somehow, but I do think Captain America is going to die in Avengers Infinity War, just like I think Iron Man is going to die in Avengers Infinity War. There's very little to suggest that he's going to die in the trailers, aside from that one moment where he looks messed up. He looks like he's sad. He looks like he's grieving, and Thanos says, at least in the trailers, how it's edited, that I hope they remember you. And I think this is when Tony Stark is going to die, and I think he's going to sacrifice himself to save Spider-Man or the rest of the Avengers. The position the position that Tony Stark has on the poster is a very sacrificial position, and I think that's how Tony Stark is going to go out, which would be an amazing character development from beginning with Iron Man right at the very beginning to Avengers Infinity War right at the very end, almost to the day, 10 years after Iron Man premiered. And I think that's how Iron Man is going to go out, either sacrificing himself to save Spider-Man or sacrificing himself to save the Avengers, doing something. We don't know what. What do you think of my speculations on what's going to happen in Avengers Infinity War? And tell me some of your own. Let me know all of that in the comments, and follow me on all the internets. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it around so others can join in the conversation. If you want to be featured in my next What You Gamin' On video, make sure to email me at whatyougaminon@gmail.com and tell me what game you've been playing, what you like about it, what you don't like about it. So send me an email to be featured, and subscribe to my channel to geek out some more. Thanks for watching, and have fun.